Real Madrid are the only club in the world who can win their 15th Champions League title and say, that's not enough, let's sign Kylian Mbappe. Fabrizio Romano already gave the here we go, and as a Dortmund fan, I'm gonna be a complete hater. I hope he flops. I hope he goes to Real Madrid and it's Eden Hazard Part 2. This is some grade A bullshit. Florentino Perez is like Nick Fury assembling the footballing Avengers right now. Everybody remembers Eden Hazard's transfer from Chelsea being the best player in the Premier League to going to Real Madrid, sitting on the bench, getting a little bit heftier, and then retiring from football altogether. But even that isn't the worst transfer in Real Madrid's history, because that award goes to a man known as Jonathan Woodgate, who got transferred for £16 million from Newcastle to Real Madrid in 2004. And at that time, that was a lot of money. He proceeded to get injured almost instantly, sat out for an entire year, and then on his first game back, scored an own goal and then got a red card. So it really couldn't have gone worse. He only made 9 appearances in total for the club before getting loaned out to Middlesbrough and then permanently transferred there, where injuries plagued his entire career. That was a disaster signing, and it only gets worse from here. Because even though Madrid are super rich, they generally spend their money much better than some other rich clubs, like Manchester United, who spent a lot more than $13 on a fidget spinner. You can get one for as low as $1. Instead, they spent £86 million. Antony is one of the funniest characters to ever grace the football pitch, and I will not hear otherwise, okay? This guy has 1 goal and 1 assist in 29 league appearances this season, yet the confidence that he has when getting subbed in is unmatched, okay? He will come on and then dribble out of bounds and blame the assistant referee. He'll spin around in circles in the corner of the pitch while down 1-2 to Nottingham Forest. He is an anomaly. The way that this man's brain works has to be studied. It is unreal. I hope he sticks around forever. Manchester United are not the only culprits of this though, because Arsenal did the exact same thing basically with Nicolas Pepe, who after a few matches wasn't even starting for them anymore and basically contributed nothing before going on loan after loan and then left on a free transfer at the end of his contract, which meant that Arsenal was out pretty much all of that £80 million. The biggest transfer of all time was Neymar to PSG for 222 million euros. And just being that expensive, it's very hard to live up to that kind of expectation. So it's really harsh to say that this was a terrible transfer. When he did play, he was one of the best in the world. The only problem was he got hurt so much during his time at PSG and was unable to bring them a Champions League title, which is basically why they bought him in the first place. But there's definitely been some record transfer fees in the past that have been much worse than Neymar's to PSG, like Denilson in 1998, who went to Real Betis, of all clubs, on a record transfer fee of 22 million euros. That was the record at the time. Now, anybody goes for 22 million euros, but at the time, that was the world record transfer fee. Yet, in 186 matches played for Real Betis over the course of 7 years, he scored just 13 goals. That is Antony kind of numbers. And beyond that, Paul Pogba was also a record-setting transfer fee to Manchester United for over 100 million euros. The reason that he's on this list, beyond the fact that he was bad for Manchester United most of the time, was the fact that he was at Manchester United in the first place, and they let him go for free. He left the Manchester United Academy squad, I believe it was the U21s, going to Juventus, where he became a superstar. And then they bought him back for that record-setting fee, where they could have just had him for free in the first place. But the funniest part of all of this is after he played pretty terribly for Manchester United, he went back to Juventus again for free. But to be fair to Manchester United, his second stint with Juventus is not going quite as well as the first one. Felipe Coutinho to Barcelona, 135 million euros. Now, at the time, I didn't even think that was overpaying. There were a few matches where Coutinho with Liverpool would play against Dortmund in like the Champions League or Europa League, and every single time Felipe Coutinho touched the ball, my butthole clenched. I was so afraid of that player. He was so incredibly good. But when he went to Barcelona, he wasn't as good. And then they sent him on loan to Bayern Munich, and this is where it gets bad for Barcelona, because despite Coutinho not playing well for Barcelona, he went to Bayern Munich and then played against Barcelona in the Champions League, scoring twice in one of the most embarrassing losses that Barcelona has ever experienced. And they paid 135 million euros for Coutinho to do that for him. I mean, it's one thing to go to a club and just completely flop, but Felipe Coutinho had his best performance while being owned by Barcelona against Barcelona. Zlatan Ibrahimovic had a very successful career at many different clubs. You can say a lot of great things about Zlatan. Loyalty isn't exactly one of them. I mean, he played for so many different teams, but the one team he always wanted to play for was Barcelona. So when Barcelona had to pay 50 million euros and give up Samuel Eto'o to get him to the club, it was like a dream come true for both of them. But one thing that the Barcelona board did not think about was the fact that Zlatan comes with a bit of an ego, and Pep Guardiola really wasn't putting up with that. Now, there's a lot of different perspectives that come with this story, but in the end, they just did not get along, and Pep Guardiola showed a lot of disrespect to Zlatan Ibrahimovic during his time at Barcelona as well. He sat the bench in so many different games, and by the time that the year was over, he transferred back to the Serie A for less than half of what Barcelona paid for him, and that doesn't even include Samuel Eto'o. Barcelona made a huge investment in Zlatan. Zlatan joined the club that he wanted to join for his entire life, and neither really got the experience that they were expecting. I saved the best for last for you guys, or I actually should say the worst for last, because this is the worst transfer of all time, and it's so bad that it dwarfs every single other transfer in this video combined. The story is so crazy that it's almost not believable, but I promise you it is 100% true. And it started in 1996 when George Weah was 1 year removed from winning the Ballon d'Or. And Graham Souness gets a call from somebody claiming to be George Weah. He says, "Hey, I've got a cousin in Senegal, all right? And he is the next biggest thing. You need to take a chance on him. It will be worth it." Graham Souness puts down the phone. He says, "You know what? George Weah just won the Ballon d'Or. This guy, he's related to him. George Weah's vouching for him. He has to be good." And so he signs a man named Ali Dia out of Senegal. And he signs him to a 1-month contract. And he actually gets a match in. He plays against Leeds in the Premier League before Graham Souness realizes that wasn't George Weah on the phone. George Weah doesn't have a cousin in Senegal, and Ali Dia isn't even a professional footballer. It's safe to say that that 1-month contract didn't get extended, but the fact that he made it that far is absolutely insane. It's like the 90s footballing version of getting an email from an exiled Nigerian prince who wants to send you a bunch of money. It always turns out great when you send him your bank account information. But that's it for today's video. If you made it to the end of the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see ya in the next one. Peace out.